That's good.
What's up, guys? It is Friday afternoon, trying to get a little bit done out here in the garage. I've worked a little bit this week on some odds and ends. We're not going to sit here and bore y'all with all these small details because we're just entering a point in the car now where it's just like a honey to-do list. So this is under the back of the car. We have got the shock sensors installed, as you can see. So what we've done is basically copied the Tim McCanus design. So you can see that we have took our bolt that our shock bolts on, and we have took another bolt, went to the hardware store, checked the bolt size to your hole size so that there's not no up and down play on this. And then we have just used 2 nuts, so you can adjust where it goes so that it runs straight up and down the side of the shock body. And then Mike has just welded it to the end of this thing. These shock sensors have no tension on them at all, so they're not gonna like bend these bolts. So it's, you're perfectly fine on that. And then the upper one is done the same way. The lower you can put on with a socket, you have room, but the uppers between the frame rail, you got to use 2 wrenches to put the tops on. So we needed to get these done because of the wiring. When this car goes to wire, he has to wire it up. So I'm probably just gonna come right here. Fuel cells in this area, so we'll probably come over here somewhere beside it and punch a hole, put a rubber garment through it, and that way this can run up through there and put it in, the guy wiring it can put a connector on the end of it. So we got both done. So I copied his design off Tim McCanus. This is the Tim McCanus is like a smooth shaft over this. Like his is like a smooth shaft all the way, and then it has the threads on the end. So it's just a little bit more fancier, but it's literally the same exact thing. This is just a high-class white trash version. It works though. It works. Y'all could do this in your garage and nice and clean. You don't have to make more brackets. While we are out here this afternoon, we are going to take one of these tape measures and go ahead and measure for the belt for the Procharger. I still have not done that. I'm going to order the belt, the keyway, and the washer at the same time. Besides that, everything else is buttoned up here. I think we went over in the other video that we flipped the throttle body. I did order a low-car cable for that. So I'm going to have to figure that out once that comes in and get that bracket hooked up. I need to probably order the bracket that goes between the throttle body and that to hook that to, where I'm going to have to fab something. So maybe I'll order that this afternoon. I finalized everything up here. I feel like I'm pretty decent. So we're starting to put the car back together. I need to do the other hood pins on here, the ones that go through here. That way we can latch our second set. And I also spoke with Jason yesterday about the Procharger issue, how I'm just not comfortable with the inlet being right here. The tires turn like this when you go forward. So they're literally slinging water and rocks up into here. Me and him spoke. I've ordered an aluminum 90-degree bend 4-inch pipe, and asked him to notch it around this tube because there's a tube that runs right through here that makes it really hard. As you can see, the piece I made, you can't just fit it on. So the back side of that 90's got to be notched, and basically this down bar is going to have to go through our aluminum 90. And then I have ordered the like turbo exhaust trim ring, that normally would go in your fender. So I've ordered that for the hood. So where we come out, we'll cut a hole in the hood, and then we'll have a piece over there. So that's going to be the air inlet for the Procharger. I really couldn't think of no other way. I think it'll be nice and clean to be, up there. And then, we figured out maybe before we put on it or something, maybe we'll put some screen or something on it to just help make sure that nothing goes down in it like a big bumblebee, even though I'm sure the Procharger would just disintegrate it and it won't affect anything as long as no rocks or nothing like that went in it. I don't think no big rocks would be across my hood, but it's just thinking out loud. Went ahead and started putting the front back together. Haven't put the grill on because I am still leaning over the top, and I do have a little bit of a belly, so instead of crushing the grill or cracking it, I've kind of just left that loose for right now. We did get the rubber line put up. Let's see here, and we did go under here and straighten all of this up the other night. So my transmission lines and everything were zip tied around the subframe connector. I have went back since then and nut certed everywhere where you could put the 2 clamps like that. So I have really cleaned it all up. Now the nuts are here. I don't like how this thing runs under the frame rail. If you jack my car up, more likely you'll be jacking it up from here, or you'll come, you know, way underneath here. And if you go past that line, all this is in case the overflows, it will then go to the puke tank. So it's not like this actively has anything in it unless we're in trouble. But I would still rather drill this out and pass it through. But then I have to put the little rubber bushing in there, and the other side gets a little more tricky, and my luck, there's gonna be something in the center in the way, so I kind of just went with it like that. But the lines come out and they go down the car, nut certed again right there, and then they wrap, you know, nice and neat to the back. All of this is getting cut out. Every bit of this stuff is getting cut out for the 10 soldiers. New 4-link, whenever we replace it. Our overflow for our coolant, in case of emergency, it goes back here, and then it goes into a pass-through that goes inside the car so that we can take it up inside the car, also to the puke tank back there. So we cleaned all that up the other night and got that where that's all good to go. I'm waiting on the plug for that side of the pan. I'm having issues with that. I ordered it, so we've got the plug in this side. That's the oil drain. There's another hole in the other side. I believe that is for the oil level sensor, because in the instructions of this pan, it says it has the bung to put the factory oil level sensor in it if you want to, but I don't need that. So I had to order a thread, a delete plug basically thing. It's literally a oil level sensor delete for that side. So we have to get that in. Once we get that in, we can put our motor oil in the motor finally. Went ahead and put the front valance back on the car, and as you see, Mike did get the decal done, so we have, you know, all of that taken care of for the actual name of the car now. We changed our Zeus fasteners out to the Allen head ones because I did have the flat style ones, and we went ahead the other night and I got my Zeus fasteners done up here because I didn't have them. This hole is where the tow hook screws into for if you need to winch the car. So you simply take this tow hook, if y'all don't know, or if you're new to the channel, and you literally screw it right in. I thought about ordering a little trim ring to go around that, but you know, so paint don't chip, and then you literally have a stupid solid piece that's screwed right into the frame. But I thought about ordering a little trim ring to go around that. I don't know, but all that's done. So our valance is finally done, because I've been putting them Zeuses on, you know, but between doing the springs on the backside and the Zeuses and everything the other night, I spent a good hour on, if not more, on changing out all of these Zeuses to the hex ones. So I'm gonna keep at it, see what I can get done this weekend. Like I said, we're just trying to work towards this thing going out of here. All right, so we are making some ground in here. We got some parts in this past week. I got in these extra strips, bus bars, and this extra fuse block. All of these are actually wired up. You just can't see. So if you look right there, we've got wires. So there's about, let's see here, they're wired all the way to here. So all of these are wired. They just run under the panel nice and neat. So we got some grounds over here and screws that go to the floor, and some grounds here. Trying to sort things out, wrap my head around it piece by piece, so I'm not gonna bore y'all with a lot sorting out stuff. This is temporary. Wire nuts are just temporary to figure out what's going on, because I had this headlight harness here that I did not understand, such as this yellow was supposed to be to your, it said, because I have my old wire diagram for this switch, the kit that come with it, but it said to dome light, or no, it said to headlight dimmer. And so that wasn't registering with me that that's actually your headlight feed. So I figured all that out now. Power's in, running lights, all that stuff's good. You know, pretty basic stuff, and I'm still just sorting through this body side of things, cleaning it up. So all I got to do right now, it is Friday night, all I got to do is, I've literally worked on this all day, getting this to this point, wrapping stuff around, but I've got to get this, make up a headlight harness now, to get that there, to get that over to this panel to make some connections. We went ahead and made up this harness, okay, with Deutsche connectors. So this comes off of our front headlights, okay, all of that runs through this, it's buried, it goes in here. Our taillight harness you no longer see, so the one that comes from the back of the car is all buried underneath here and feeds into here. So the front of the car and the rear of the car all feed in right here together. Okay, and then you'll connect in what you want to feed these. So this is how I like to, you know, I can wrap my head around this, because then I can make my connections however I need, you know. So front of the car, rear of the car, all right here, plug in wherever you need things to go. And we're about to pull the headlight plug into here, and it'll probably go on this side maybe, but some of it's got to pass through the fuses. So that's literally all I'm doing, is sorting out all that stuff. Let's see here. It is about 9 o'clock. It's been raining here, thunder and lightning. So I think my back's kind of hurting. I might go ahead and call it a night for tonight and take a break. And then tomorrow, now that I have my head finally wrapped around this stuff, I can start making my connections, the rest of my connections into this. I know all this chicken scratch is probably not going to make sense to anybody else, but I am mapping out. These are just, you know, some notes, but I'm mapping out my plugs. Haven't done that one yet, but looking at the plugs, you know, what they mean, color, wires, and I'm gonna go back and rewrite this so it's all nice and smooth or clean. But, you know, mapping out the plugs, like somebody said, is to basically map everything out so you have something to refer back to. So I've got every plug and what the wires are that's going into it, and the colors, because some of the colors change for various reasons. And then I even have a diagram of my board right here. So I drew out a matching diagram of my board, basically, with whether it's fuses or, you know, a bus bar or more fuses, bus bars, whatever. But I have them labeled 1 through 94. So every one of these locations has its own number. And then I will do on this page, my hand started hurting, so I quit at 66. But on this page, you'll have for every spot, basically, you know, you'll have a list of what goes there. So what wire goes to every single spot. So if you need to know what goes here, you know, 47, then you'll come over here to this page and go to 47, and that's what it will be once we get done. So I am mapping it all out. I know that was a suggestion of somebody's, is to map all this out while you're doing it, because that is one thing that was kind of overwhelming me at first. I think the fact that, like, I would wire something and I would remember right then in the moment what it was, but then when a week went by, a couple weeks went by, and I went back to do it, being nothing was labeled, and some wires have labels pre-printed on them from the little kits that I have cut up over time I have used, and others are not pre-labeled. So you want and remember, you know, if that's legitimately what it was or if you were using it for something else. So now we're going to have a complete layout. Once I'm done with everything, I will type it up on the computer and have a master copy of what each location is for. It is Sunday night. We got a decent amount done this weekend. Electrical notes. So like I said, I took y'all's advice. I mapped out everything so that we did this weekend. That's all the connections I made. It's that whole list. And I'm gonna send a lot of this off with Chris, who's wiring the car. We are not about to talk about this wiring in this video. I did a how-to on the turn signals, and that's it. So we're not gonna sit here and beat a dead horse over something so basic. But it did take me basically like all weekend to kind of sort this stuff out along with the other stuff you've seen. So I think the beginning of this video will start like Friday, if I remember when I started filming. And that's basically my weekend. So a lot of redoing little stuff. So do the electrical and then redo it. Do it, redo it. Put this here, move it, drill it, nutsert here. Like, just keep rearranging stuff until we figure it out. We're going to skim through it real fast. I'll show you what I accomplished, and then show you a couple things we got in the mail. Pretty excited about, and we're gonna wrap this thing up for this weekend. It's gonna be a comment update. So let me show y'all where we're at. So there is what we ended up with. So of course, you know, just like we've seen in another video, we have all them lights. Down here we have all of our plugs tucked back nice and neat. So everything, Deutsche connectors, everything is P-clamped, you know, up out of the way. This stuff is still loose. It needs to be finalized. This all needs to be finalized. All of this needs to be finalized. It's nothing yet. These are going to go to the steering wheel for your whatever you need on the steering wheel. if we come down here, these wires are for the steering wheel also. So these loose wires are these right here that go to the steering wheel. So being that I don't 100% know yet what these are going to go to or how these this situation works with the steering wheel, we're not going to do nothing with them, because I don't know if they're going to need to go on the fuses or if they're just going to go straight in. So got everything working. It's not the neatest job, but it's also not the messiest. So you got your relay for your turn signals, pretty basic. This whole entire bar is basically all lighting, whether it's interior lighting like that right there, or rear end lighting, or whatever. That whole bar's lighting. And then this move down here is like line lock, fuel cell, the fuel level gauge in the fuel cell in case we ever need it. And then that, I believe, is a horn that comes off of the turn signal. Didn't figure out 100% what that wire was, but I didn't need it, but I wanted to go ahead and put it on there. So all you have to do is come in on this side to make a connection with any of them. So obviously your fuse block is pretty basic. And then, you know, headlights, brake switch lights. I mean, we don't need to go over everything. This right here, all of these connections are the switch panel. So my switch panel is ran down here, and then it comes right here. So you can tie in, rearrange, move whatever you want right here for the switch panel. So you don't have to be up there messing with that switch panel. You don't have to take nothing down. If Chris wants to rewire it, if he's not happy with like how it's wired or my gauge wiring or anything, he can change it. But I figured these would be more signal basically, and if it's anything heavy duty, it would obviously be like triggering a relay or something somewhere, and not actually pulling a ton of power through the switch panel, even though I think the starter wire might go through there or something. I know that this wire right here is pretty heavy duty, and this is the same size that came with it for the like ignition button, I think. So I'm not sure 100%, or no, that's the feed wire. That's the main wire that feeds it. But then you still have the start button. So I don't know how the start button works. That's for Chris to figure out. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Nothing fancy. A lot of wires are tucked underneath there, and you know, the seat will go right over this, and we'll clean this up. We still got to push a couple of these wires under here, but I literally was just cleaning up out here this afternoon, kind of calling it a wraps. You know, I just grounded, used them for ground, that for ground. We do have a ground post on this side of the fuses, but I'm not using no ground sides of the fuses. So with this little cheap fuse block, the cool thing with it is that, you know, you can either use your hot side or you can use your negative side if you need to fuse off the negative side. So this would be your negative connection, and if I ever wanted to use that, I'd literally probably just build a jumper cable to go from there, because that goes down into the floor to there, you know, and do away with these, because I've got 2 grounds here and then 2 grounds that you can barely see on that screw. So they're nice and clean, and everything is mapped out. I know where everything's at. All of these right here are blank, so I still have all of these available to add into. And then I have, you know, 6 of these, 6 fuses. So I'm not using 4 of these fuses right now for anything at all. And that's what was confusing me originally. If you remember, I had that big block and had all the wires laid to the side, and it just was kind of confusing the mess out of me. It was a little bit, I was trying to mix, you know, like basically race car basic wiring with, you know, a universal kit, and it just wasn't the best. So we have our, you know, breaker right here. You can see when you flip that, lights go off, and then when you turn it on, you can see the lights come back on. So that's your main breaker to protect you from anything on this board. And then the car has another breaker in the back of it for the battery, but this is the main. I put a breaker right here on this board, so anything really, if stuff really hits the fan, it'll trip the breaker on that. So I still got to clean up some of these zip ties. You know, this needs to be pulled tight and cut. Zip tie needs to be put on there. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm not it took me a while to figure it out, so now I've got some nut certs in random places that I don't need because of all the changes and everything, but I kind of made it work. And there's actually one underneath here that you can't even see that I hid. So, but I think it's gonna be nice. It's an easy way for me to come in here since I suck at wiring, and basically all I did was I got everything, whatever this car needs. I pulled that pigtail, whatever it is, whether it's the turn signal, the headlights, the rear tail light harness, everything I pulled into this board, you know, and then I fed it into here. And then that way my connections, where they go, I can make right here under the seat. I don't have to make any connections anywhere in the car. I can do everything under the seat. So you even have like right here with your running lights, you know, this kit come with these little jumpers that you just cut the ends, and so we tied the front and rear running lights together. You know, and of course this is the wire that goes to the switch to trigger them to come on, but you have these little things that do come with the kit that you can tie these together if you need to tie 2 blocks. But besides that, every single block is, you know, its own thing. Yeah, and I know that these don't have heat shrink on them. These do. Basically, when I started doing it up here, I was kind of doing it messier with no heat shrink. It don't really, you don't see it, it don't matter, it don't touch anything. But now as I'm adding stuff and changing stuff, I'm making sure everything's heat shrinked. And this wire right here is temporary. This is for the interior lights. So I don't know if these little interior LED lights, if they need to be on a fuse. I guess technically every freaking thing needs to be on a fuse. So I temporarily just did this to make sure they work. But what you would do is, being the power is coming off your switch right here, your overhead switch, and then it's going to the LED lights, because that's the cool thing about making a board, is all your connections are here, is you would technically need a fuse between the switch and the lights in case something happens on the lights, it pops the fuse. But the only thing that kind of stumped me on this is that my power to feed my lights, the LED lights, are coming off of the switch, okay? Because all the power for all of these are hot. These are 12 volts. They come off of right here, because this wire right here shoots up to the switch panel, and then the switch panel shoots back down where it's all hot. These are all hots. So that's the reason why, you know, when you flip the switch, then it's shooting 12 volt out of here to the LEDs. Whereas these over here, your hot wire right here feeds in, and then it's shooting 12 volts out of it. So you can't turn this into an inline fuse block. Now I do have an inline fuse block over there that originally had in here, and then I took out and I switched to this setup. So if this ends up needing a fuse when we're done, and I talk to Chris, or y'all tell me it needs a fuse or whatever, then, you know, it's gonna have to be changed up. And more than likely it will have to be changed up, because technically right now the fuse, or the panel up there, that panel really doesn't have a fuse on it besides the main breaker, because this feeds that panel, and then that panel comes down, and then it can go to wherever it wants. So technically there's no fuses besides this breaker on the overhead control panel. So I think it needs a fuse block. But what I might end up doing is trying to get a small one, or once I figure out how many I need, or if, you know, maybe I'll go ahead and look for another 6, you know, inline fuse one, then I'll have to do something different where this feeds a fuse block somewhere, and I'll have to figure that out, you know, where this will be a fuse power distribution block, and then I'll have to have some kind of inline fuse. Maybe I could feed one and squeeze one in here where I can tightly just shoot wires straight over to it, hit the fuses here, and then go from there. I like the fuses being back here, because even with the seat in it, you can still reach back here and get your fuses. And I don't know, maybe if I get a small enough block, I could fit it over here or something. I kind of ran out of real estate, didn't really lay this board out the best way possible, but that's that. So underneath the car, we have the lights all wired up, so that's them under the car. You can see how good it lights everything up. It lights all the shocks up, you know, so you can make shock changes. You can see all your fuel filters. You can see all your fuel lines. You can see everything underneath here if you need to make any changes at night. And you'll also be able to see the tires if you need to pour a puddle or anything. So the way that Devin wired Randy's is he wired the interior lights and the rear underlights all on the same exact switch. And I'll cut the lights off in here so y'all can kind of see, which kind of sucks, I think, in my opinion, because then if you need to, you know, I mean, you can get an example of how, I mean, these lights are really good, especially over there. So, I mean, it really lights up good. It don't necessarily light up, you know, great over here, but we're not going to need this lit up. If you're messing with this, then the driver's out of the vehicle. The driver's seat's probably out of the vehicle, and you can set a light up. So that side over there, it lights up really good if you're having to mess with something in the staging lanes, as far as, you know, the Holly or anything that Chris is going to do over here to actually run the car, you know, or if we need to get in here to the transmission dipstick. I mean, anything that's going to need to be done over here, it lights up amazing. And this is where I figured most of your troubleshooting within the staging lanes last minute would happen is over here. And if anything, that's just headlights, line lock, basic stuff like that. So that's not really, you know, that big of a deal. And then you can see how bright it is underneath here. So, but he has them wired on Randy's car the same way as this, where the interior lights and the underlights are wired together. So everything comes on. The only thing I don't like about that is if you were trying to do, you know, like a street hit or something, or you're pouring a puddle or at the track or whatever, and you needed that lights, then your interior lights would also be on and kind of, you know, in your face. And I know from Randy's that them interior lights are really bright when it's nighttime at the track. So what I'm thinking about doing is doing an override switch where these rear lights also can be fed. I'd have to figure out how to do it. I suck at wiring, but where these rear lights can be fed off of just the battery, and maybe there's some kind of little switch hidden back here for whoever, you know, or underneath the bumper or something, for whoever, if you need a pour puddle and you can't see and you want to flip it on yourself, then you can flip it on back here to get that light up. But I'd have to figure out how that works or talk to Chris, because if you throw this wiring back here power, then it's just going to backfeed, being it's tied together up here. Like they're on the same block. Both of them come in and together. It'd backfeed and then turn this one on too. And I don't know, maybe that's not a bad idea. I mean, I'm not really against that, you know, as long as whoever's pouring it back here remembers to cut it off, which, yeah, I don't know. I got to think about a little more about that. Or maybe I'll just add a light bar in for pouring a puddle, or maybe I won't do nothing. Maybe I'll just, you know, flip on the lights, and then whenever they're done pouring a puddle, you know, normally they come up here anyway, and they you know, thumbs up and tell you to come forward. So maybe at that time you would know to just go ahead and flip it off. You know, that'd probably be the best bet. But yeah, that's the progress we have made for this weekend. Got the valance all put on, got all that stuff together. Let me show you that the lights, we did get the lights all working. That was the main ordeal. So got headlights up front. So we now have our headlights. We have our running lights. Okay, and them are the original running lights. You remember we went over in another video from the car. And then we have all the interior lights are good. And then we have, you know, the quarter panel marker lights. And then we have the tail lights. And then you hit the turn signal and you got turn signals. So that's a big achievement in its own for me. So over here we got from Procharger, they sent this whole box for this crap. I handled the washer because I didn't have the washer, so you have a special washer for your Procharger and a keyway and a bolt. So I just went ahead and ordered everything from them. I think they said like one was like $2, another one's like $3. So it was gonna be like $5. And so I was like, cool. I was like, let me just go ahead and get it from y'all. They said that their belt was like $70 or $78, and I got it off of eBay for the same belt. He gave me the part number, but I got the same belt off of eBay for $30, I think. So he went, I said, well, let me just go ahead and get this, because he said that the washer they only make, but he could give me measurements on the keyway so I could get it myself. But it was so cheap, I was like, let me just get it through y'all. That way I don't have no mistakes. And then I was like, cool, $5. And when he rang me out, dude, it was like $23, $26. And then I got it in the mail today, and it's like there's a freight charge. There's a 9.8% surcharge. So, I mean, yeah, I hated to do a $5 transaction to make them ship it out. So I get it, because it sucks. You know, it's just crazy how $5 ended up $2.22 or whatever. But no complaints on my end. I understand that shipping is not cheap. I think I would have rolled this up in a flat rate envelope instead of a whole freaking Procharger box. But they do ship out really fast. You know, it was like literally I ordered this on Friday. Today is Sunday, and it come in the mail today on the freaking Sunday. So that was pretty amazing. Got in our 1/4-inch push locks. Your sensor takes a 1/4-inch push lock. So this is the thing that they built. It's, you know, this is for the map sensor we went over in the other video. It is not an 1/8 inch. So this company does 1/4-inch push lock. They said, let's see here, 1/4-inch NPT. If I can get it to thread in. Maybe that's because that's backwards. Let's try this side. Yep. So you'll feed that in like that. I'm not gonna put it all the way in right now. and then your sensor, the nipple will butt up inside there with the O-ring. And then, you know, your sensor bolts to that. So we've got to install that this week, and then your push lock for your vacuum will go on that. So this is the piece to protect the GM style block map sensor that we installed in the car. Got in our coolant additives because it is a street car. So this is the same stuff that Big Chief runs. I actually was watching one of his videos where he was just chit-chatting, and he dropped this information, and I immediately paused the video and took note of it because he said that he has been running this stuff for years, and he adds it to every single vehicle, and that he never has like corrosion inside of his motor or anything, that it's absolutely amazing. So originally I put it on the watch list on eBay. When I found it, I typed it in, and I didn't purchase it right away. And then when I went to purchase it later, it was gone, sold out. It had been sold, and they didn't have none. So then it popped back up on the watch list again, so I went ahead and purchased it. For these 4 bottles, the cheapest I could get it, $100 for that, for the coolant system. So definitely spending the money on nice products and not cheap products, and not just running straight water in the radiator. And then we also got in the mail this past week the motor oil. So let me show y'all what we are going to run. I'm waiting for that one plug, which I think has actually been delivered at the shop, and I just haven't went to the shop. Got old red bottles, $150 I think for all of these. So we are running Schaefer's 5W50. So this is I contacted TKM, and they said to run 5W50 in the motor. You know, since they built the motor, I wanted to run they recommended Motorcraft, because I asked Skinny up there, I said, what kind of oil should I run? And he said, you could just run regular Motorcraft. And so when I looked up Motorcraft enough to fill this motor, you actually have to get a little more than what normally comes in it. It was freaking like $150. And so then I happened to stumble across Schaefer's, and it was 150-ish. So I sent Skinny a message, and I was like, hey, is there any reason why you told me to run Motorcraft versus, you know, like Schaefer's or some racing oil? And he was like, no, it's just Motorcraft's good. And I sent him the screenshot, and I was like, I can get Schaefer's for the same price as Motorcraft. You know, and so I'm going to go with it. A lot of people say it's nice. It's good oil, top of the line stuff. So I figured for the same price, we're going to run it into Coyote. The transmission fluid, the Schaefer's transmission fluid, I know I was watching one of the LS Nasty videos the other night, and they said that they're switching from running like the high guard, like the hydraulic fluid in their transmissions, to the Schaefer's, because it doesn't break down. Like if somebody tries to burn you down or something like that, the hydraulic fluid was burning up faster than the Schaefer's does. And so the Schaefer's transmission fluid is only like $50 a gallon. It's not bad at all, I don't think. So I'm probably gonna go ahead and order that too for the transmission, so we can get that, because I'm gonna need that to put in the torque converter when me and Mike go to set torque converter. So I'll probably go ahead and order that tonight. We're gonna try to order the drive shaft tomorrow, which is Monday. I called on Friday, but they were already closed. We're gonna order that from PST. And let's see here, what else do we got coming up? Again, it goes to wiring after Father's Day. Then it should go for headers. The 90-degree pipe was delivered this weekend for the Procharger that we talked about, for Chris to cut. I just don't have that here at the house. So we're going to take care of the drive shaft measurements, and then this bad boy should be about to come off of the jack stands. I've talked to Mike. We're going to get this thing at the shop and go ahead and do the 4-link, get the 10 soldiers 4-link put in it, get transmission issues taken care of, get all that put in there. So we should be rolling. This stuff should be about to start happening, man. I'm getting lined up. So let's wrap this up for tonight. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and I will catch y'all on the next comment update, and we should be about to start making things happen, y'all.